At a harbor, a group of police officers is working undercover. They are preparing to stop a human trafficking deal where a group of women is about to be sold and turned into adult video performers. Among these women, there is one person who is not what she seems, a female officer disguised as a high school student. Her name is Jun Jae-in, and she tries to blend in while keeping an eye on everything around her. Elsewhere in the area, the rest of the police team has already slipped inside and is monitoring the criminals through CCTV cameras. Before long, a group of men arrives, clearly the leaders of this operation. The police are getting ready to move, but just as they are about to leave the room, they realize members of the gang are already waiting outside the door, blocking any way out. Meanwhile, the crime boss starts negotiating with a supposed pimp at the scene. Jae-in begins to panic a little because the backup she is counting on still has not shown up. Feeling cornered and out of options, she decides to act on her own. She pulls out her gun and threatens the criminals, trying to stop the deal by herself. She fights as hard as she can, but because she is completely alone, she starts to get exhausted while taking on all these gangsters. Then something unexpected happens. The pimp suddenly points a gun at the crime boss. It turns out he is not a pimp at all, but an undercover cop as well. This man is Detective Ya, who has been running his own part of the operation in disguise. Right after that reveal, the rest of the police finally rush in, surround the criminals, and arrest everyone involved. The mission is completed, although it did not go as smoothly as planned. After the intense fight, Detective Ya is frustrated with Jae-in. He knows the mission became messy because she acted recklessly and went in on her own. And with that, she's on duty. The story then moves to a police meeting led by the captain. In this briefing, they talk about two of the biggest gang bosses in Seoul, Cha Young-jae and Bae Do-sung. Their main target is Do-sung, who has been involved in multiple murder cases, but so far there is not enough solid evidence to lock him up. Because of that, the police decide to work with Young-jae. In the past, Young-jae and Do-sung were close friends. They were both feared and respected as powerful gang leaders. Now things have changed. Young-jae has turned over a new leaf and chosen to cooperate with the police. He is ready to testify in court and reveal all the proof of Do-sung's crimes. However, Young-jae has one condition. He wants protection for himself and for his daughter. Unfortunately, Do-sung finds out that his old friend has betrayed him. So when the police are escorting Young-jae, a group of gang members sent by Do-sung ambushes their car. In the chaos, Young-jae manages to escape. But after that incident, he completely loses trust in the police. He disappears without a trace, and no one knows where he is. To track Young-jae and still bring down Do-sung, the captain comes up with a new plan. He decides to get close to Young-jae's daughter, Chae Sung-hee, who is still in high school. The idea is simple. Watch over the daughter to find the father. For this mission, the captain chooses his own niece, Jun Jae-in. She is assigned to go undercover once again, this time as a high school student, and secretly keep an eye on Sung-hee. The next day, the captain immediately orders Jae-in to continue her undercover mission. She really wants nothing to do with it. School is the last place she wants to be. She hates studying, never cared about grades, and has zero fond memories of classrooms. But this is a national assignment, and refusing it could mean losing her badge and career. So even though she is completely unenthusiastic, she has no choice but to accept. When she arrives at the school, her first day as a high school student officially begins. During her introduction in front of the class, her military training shows. She speaks stiffly and formally, which only makes her classmates burst into laughter. Trying to ignore the embarrassment, she walks to an empty seat at the back, and that is when she notices that Sung-hee is in the same class. Before she can settle in, she suddenly gets kicked in the leg by Hye Ryung. The kick sends Jae into the floor while the entire class laughs again. It turns out Hye Ryung is the leader of the school's girl gang and is feared by most students. Once the teacher leaves the room, Jae-in tries talking to the girl sitting next to her, No Young. Instead of responding normally, No Young insults her, accusing her of having early aging even though she is still a student. Jae-in is not someone who accepts disrespect. She snaps back with a brutal insult of her own, and No Young is instantly offended. Furious, she storms out to call backup, returning with Hye Ryung and the gang. Hye Ryung tries acting tough and challenges Jae into a fight. Jae-in accepts without hesitation. It does not take long. Jae-in defeats the entire group with ease. After the fight, she warns them to stay out of her way. The whole scene is witnessed by the other students, and just like that, the once awkward new girl becomes someone respected and feared. Later, Jae, and tries approaching Seung-hee in the cafeteria while she is eating alone. She sits down and introduces herself, hoping to start a friendship. But Seung-hee simply gets up and walks away without a word. She used to be cheerful, but after losing her mother, she has become quiet and distant. Suddenly, another new student appears. His name is Kang-no. He introduces himself to Jae-in, and she is immediately flustered. He is handsome, friendly, and confident, which completely throws her off balance. Not long after, No-young returns, but this time with a very different approach. She apologizes and even hands Jae-in a check. She begs her to become her bodyguard. Coming from a wealthy family, No-young is used to having protection everywhere she goes to avoid being bullied. In class, Kang-no keeps watching Jae-in, and it clearly affects her. The tough, fearless undercover cop who walked into this school has suddenly started acting softer and a little shy. Ever since meeting him, her attitude has shifted in a way she does not quite understand. After school, Detective Kim drops her off at her apartment. Conveniently, it is located right across from Seung-hee's building, which means she can observe her target anytime she needs to. Before Kim leaves, he hands her a notebook filled with information about Seung-hee to help with the mission. Later that night, Jae-in sits on the balcony, reading through the notes. While she is focused on her task, someone suddenly appears beside her. It is Kang-no, standing on the neighboring balcony. Their rooms are right next to each other. Once again, Jae-in finds herself flustered. The next morning, shocking news spreads. Do-sang is linked to another murder case. Even though he was previously detained, he has now been released due to lack of evidence. While the investigation continues, he is forbidden from leaving the country. But the moment he returns to his hideout, he commits another murder, eliminating someone who was supposed to testify against him. He then orders his men to track down young Jae before the trial begins. Back at school, Seung-hee suddenly receives a phone call. Hae-ryung spots it, snatches the phone, and answers it without permission. The call is from young Jae, Seung-hee's father. Feeling disrespected, Seung-hee reacts instantly and slaps Hae-ryung across the face. Hae-ryung is ready to retaliate, but Kang-no steps in just in time. Moments later, Jae-in arrives to support them. The confrontation dissolves, but it does not end there. Later in the locker area, Jae-in and No-young are talking when Hae-ryung and her gang show up again. This time, she brings extra backup and plans to get revenge. She challenges Jae-in to another fight after school. Jae-in does not back down. Without hesitation and with full confidence, she accepts the challenge. Meanwhile, Seung-hee is alone in the school restroom when someone quietly appears. It is her father, young Jae, who managed to slip into the school without anyone noticing. He urges her to leave the country and continue her studies overseas, hoping to protect her from the danger closing in. But Seung-hee refuses. At the same time, Jae-in learns that young Jae is somewhere on campus and immediately rushes to track him down. She alerts the captain and Kim, who are monitoring the situation, but Kim is too distracted playing mobile games to notice anything on the CCTV feed. With no support and growing frustration, Jae-in decides to chase young Jae on her own. While running through the school grounds, she accidentally crosses paths with Hae-ryung's gang. They try to block her and force a fight, but Jae-in avoids them, jumps a fence, and keeps going. The captain and Kim join the chase by car, but despite everyone's efforts, young Jae disappears again. Jae-in eventually meets up with the captain and admits she lost him. Since direct pursuit is failing, the captain comes up with a new plan. He suggests staging a fake attack so Jae-in can swoop in and save Seung-hee, hoping the moment will earn her trust and build a friendship. Jae-in reluctantly agrees. The next day after school, Jae-in keeps an eye on Seung-hee, waiting for the staged event. But before anything can happen, Hae-ryung and her gang appear again, demanding the duel she promised. Seung-hee is in a hurry and asks for the fight to be postponed, but Hae-ryung refuses. Jae-in has no choice but to end the situation quickly. She defeats the gang again, forcing Hae-ryung to kneel. Once they are dealt with, Jae-in rushes toward her mission target, but she is already too late. Seung-hee has been saved, not by her, but by Kang-no. The captain's plan collapses before it even begins. Later that night, Jae-in cannot stop thinking about Kang-no and how effortlessly he fought. She realizes she may actually like him, although she knows it is impossible. She is an adult undercover police officer, and he is just a high school student, at least on the surface. Then comes a knock at her door. It is Kang-no. He confesses his feelings and suddenly kisses her. Jae-in falls back, only to wake up. It was all a dream. Moments later, the real Kang No knocks on her door, just like in her dream. But instead of confessing, he simply reminds her she is late for school. When she arrives at class, she is stunned to see a new teacher. That teacher is Detective Ya, the same undercover officer she worked with during the harbor operation. Jae-in is not happy about this. She immediately reports it to the captain and refuses to work with him. But the captain reminds her that this is government duty, not personal preference. She must cooperate with Detective Ya if they want any chance of finding young Jae. Meanwhile, Do-sang grows impatient. His men still have not located young Jae, and the lack of progress frustrates him. He orders them to find him as quickly as possible. Back at school, a misunderstanding begins. No Young spots Jae-in receiving money from an older man, not realizing that the man is actually her uncle. She assumes the worst and confronts Jae-in, believing she has become some kind of paid escort. By the next morning, that rumor has already spread across the entire school. Students avoid Jae-in and treat her differently. Surprisingly, the only person who does not turn away is Seung-hee. She reaches out and offers friendship, believing they both carry heavy personal struggles. For the first time, Jae-in feels accepted, and she finally gains the friendship she has been working toward. Soon after, exam day arrives. Since Jae-in knows nothing about the school material, she asks the captain for help. He finds someone else to take the test and plans to feed her the answers through an earpiece. At first, everything goes smoothly until the teacher notices something suspicious. Jae-in is caught cheating and sent to the teacher's office. There, she gets scolded nonstop. With no way out, she finally admits the truth. She is a police officer working undercover. Moments later, the captain arrives and confirms her identity. Once the situation is clear, the teacher agrees to support the mission. That night, Seung-hee finds a letter from her father. He plans to leave Korea for good and wants to meet her one last time before disappearing. Heartbroken, she goes to Jae-in for comfort. Jae-in reassures her and tells her she is lucky to still have a father, while she herself grew up alone. The next morning, Jae-in and the captain rush to the airport because they finally know where young Jae is. There, young Jae waits for Seung-hee, but before she arrives, Do-sang's men show up to capture him. He tries to escape, but soon gets cornered by both the gang and police. Just when it seems hopeless, a mysterious motorcyclist bursts into the scene. By filling the area with exhaust smoke, he helps young Jae get away. But during the chaos, Detective Ya shoots the rider, causing him to fall. Even injured, he climbs back onto the bike and escapes. Detective Ya prepares to fire again, but Jae-in stops him to avoid hurting an innocent person in the crowd. Later, before heading home, Jae-in spots something near the scene. The fallen rider left behind a wristwatch, and it looks exactly like the one Kang No wears. Once she gets back to the apartment, she confronts Kang No about it. He insists that his watch is still inside and claims he never wore it that day. Jae-in does not fully believe him, so she asks Kim to run a background check. The results reveal the truth. Kang No is not a regular student. He is also undercover, assigned by young Jae himself to secretly protect Seung-hee. The next day at school, Jae-in finally gathers the courage to tell Seung-hee the truth. She apologizes and admits that she is not really a student, but an undercover police officer assigned to protect her. The confession hurts Seung-hee, but after a moment, she agrees to forgive Jae-in on one condition. She must continue protecting her no matter what. That night, things take a drastic turn. Jae-in receives news that the captain has been stabbed. She rushes toward the hospital with Kim, but on the way, the car suddenly changes direction. Instead of heading back to safety, Kim takes her to a warehouse where Do-sang's men are waiting. It becomes clear Kim has betrayed them. With his wife needing expensive treatment, he saw no other way out. Seung-hee is kidnapped, and Jae-in is beaten until she can no longer fight. Not long after, young Jae arrives at the warehouse after learning his daughter is being held there. His worst fear is confirmed when he sees Seung-hee tied up and guarded. The truth behind the rivalry between young Jae and Do-sang finally surfaces. Young Jae turned away from crime, while Do-sang continued chasing power and control. Do-sang offers a twisted proposal. They will fight. If young Jae wins, he gets his daughter back and takes everything Do-sang owns. If he loses, Seung-hee will belong to Do-sang forever. Meanwhile, Jae-in lies, weakened on the ground, until the mysterious motorcyclist appears again. It is Kang No without hesitation. He helps her up and the two rush off to rescue Seung-hee. At the warehouse, the fight between young Jae and Do-sang begins. At first, Young Jae gains the upper hand, but everything changes when one of Do Sang's men shoots him with a syringe filled with a weakening drug. His strength fades instantly. Do Sang takes full advantage, beating him down until Young Jae collapses. Then with a final ruthless strike, he stabs Young Jae in the stomach. Seung-hee screams in terror as she watches her father fall. Moments later, Jae-in and Kang-no arrive. They quickly split roles. Kang-no stays with Seung-hee to protect her, while Jae-in goes after Do Sang, who is attempting to escape. He jumps into a car, but Jae-in manages to leap onto it, causing the driver to lose control and crash. Jae-in seizes the moment and arrests Do Sang. Just as she thinks the nightmare is over, another threat appears. Detective Ya steps out and points a gun at her. He has betrayed the force and chosen to side with Do Sang for money. He even admits that he was the one who stabbed the captain, fed up with taking orders. Hearing this, anger takes over. Jae-in fights back and brings him down herself. While Jae-in is dealing with the chaos outside, Kang-no is fighting his own battle to protect Seung-hee and her injured father. Despite the odds, he manages to hold off the attackers long enough for help to arrive. The police finally make it to the scene, and Young Jae is rushed away for treatment. Against all expectations, he is still alive, though in critical condition. Even as relief settles in, Jae-in cannot hide the anger she still feels toward Kim for betraying them. Everything could have ended in tragedy because of his choice. Then a piece of good news breaks the tension. A police officer rushes over and informs Jae-in that her uncle, the captain, has regained consciousness. Hearing that brings her a wave of comfort. He is her only family, and knowing he survived means everything to her. As the situation calms, Kang-no quietly steps away. Without saying anything, he disappears from the group, choosing distance over recognition. Time passes, and life begins to return to normal. In the closing scene, Jae-in is already on another undercover mission. This time, she is disguised as a nun, focused and determined as she pursues a new target. But just when she is about to catch them, someone cuts in front of her and sends her stumbling. She looks up, and it is Kang-no. So the moral of the story is, if life gets messy, confusing, and full of danger, just pretend to be a high school student and punch everyone until the plot makes sense.